Hello my beautiful friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to my channel. I am doing a collaboration today, so I'm excited to get into it. But before I do, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a homeschool mama of 4 boys. I've been homeschooling for over 7 years and loving it. And today is an exciting video for me because I'm collaborating with 2 other awesome homeschool mamas that I love. They have YouTube channels here and I admire them for quite some time. So one of them is Ryan from Mama on Mission, and the other one is Jamie from Simply Living It. So I'm gonna put their channels down below and also the playlist so you guys can watch their video after mine. But they are boy moms just like me, and so Ryan had thought about us collaborating and kind of sharing some tips for homeschool mamas that have all boys, or even just new mamas that have boys, just some tips and tricks that we have learned along the way. I do have a 12-year-old, so he's the oldest. And they also have older children as well. So this will be a fun video. And again, I want to say the tips and just some encouragement. It's not to say that we know what we're doing and that we're perfect and we got this down packed, which is not the case. We're simply learning as we go. And from one mama to another, I think that we could always encourage each other with some tips. So let me get right to it. We have about 3 questions to answer. And so let's get to it. Okay, so the first question is just to simply give advice for homeschooling boys. So mamas that are homeschooling boys. So I thought about to feed the curiosity. Boys is super curious. An example today is if they're interested in something, don't let that go. Kind of hold on to that and bring it up another day, or get them a book for something that they're interested in. So I recently did this, and it's the most recent example that I can come up with right now. But my son, who's 12 years old, we started doing the periodic table of elements in one of the lessons that I'm doing in my unit study. And he got so interested in it. So I surprised him with a book on the periodic table of elements. And he was so excited. He didn't realize that I had still remembered to get him the book. So that was a fun little surprise for him. And so now he's reading it. He's getting into it again, and it's just feeding his curiosity. He's very into that. I do unit studies here at homeschool, in my homeschool, so I tend to stop if they're interested in something, kind of giving them more of what they're interested in. Not just, but this is for homeschooling, not for like regular life. That's why I'm saying homeschooling. So yeah, feed their curiosity. Another thing is hold them accountable for their work. I thought about this because I'm very big on checking their work like the same day or the next day, and seeing what they did not complete, and just coming back the next day and saying, hey, listen, you did not complete this, you have to complete it. So holding them accountable for their work is important because it teaches them to not slack responsibility, and not cutting corners. We're not cutting corners here with homeschooling, so they have to work hard. So yeah, I thought that would be great to add in here as an advice. Sometimes we don't get to check their work right away, but if you have a chance, go through their work and see how they're doing. And if they didn't finish something, hold them accountable to finish. And I thought about also sharing to use incentives. I love using incentives. I love using motivation for them. They need motivation. So I like to do, right now we're doing unit studies. And one of the motivations that I use is a little treat. So when we start our lessons, I ask them questions about the day before. And if they answer, they get the treat. So it motivates them to retain information, to care, to listen more, and to get excited to answer these questions. So that has been a great motivation in our homeschool, and they really do get pretty much almost all the questions right. I always ask them questions that have to do with the work that they did, and then sometimes they don't get it right, so I give them another chance. There have been times where I have not given them the treat because they did not remember. And so I do hold them accountable. I mean, you have to say what you say. You have to do what you say you're going to do. It won't be fair for the others. If one of them gets it, if one of them gets the questions wrong and the others get them right, and all of them get the candy, you know what I'm saying? So yes, incentives are big in our homeschool. I love using just little simple rewards, even if it's just a candy, a little treat, or just like a special dessert for a special day that they did hard work, whatever it is. I definitely always recommend to use incentives. So number 2 is growing spiritually. What is my advice for growing your boys spiritually? So we are a Christian family. We are all about family devotionals, and we are very, very active Christians. So one of the things is that I can say with raising boys, teaching them strong masculinity is a big one for us. Teaching them that every choice has a consequence, whether it's a good choice or a bad choice, it has a consequence. So we definitely teach that to them, and keeping it real and not sugarcoating special topics. I always say that it's important to talk to them straight up so that they learn it from us and not from somewhere else. So to let the daddies lead in this sense. Daddies are the head of the home, and they are that example that the boys need. So daddies play a big role in how to raise these boys into being men. So that's a big advice there. But I also wanted to share 2 books that I'm currently reading. This is given to me by my sweet best friend. It's called Boyhood and Beyond. This is practical wisdom for becoming a man. Such a good book if you're looking for something to read aloud with your boys. You could do it at nighttime. You could do it during the day. You could read it to yourself and then summarize it however you want, or have your older child read it to himself. They do say it's great to read it together as a family. So we have been reading it together as a family, and it really does give practical advice. It has verses, it has questions. One of the topics was on Mr. Slothful and Mr. Industry, how Mr. Industry gets what he needs done, works really hard and gets rewarded for it. And Mr. Slothful is the lazy one, which boys have a lot of laziness. So it's just such a cute little analogy that they used here. It's almost like saying like the little sloth, Mr. Sloth was always want them to do nothing, but Mr. Industry is always trying to push them to do more. So it was really good. We had questions, and then we had verses to tie it all together. So I totally recommend this. Such a great read. And then the other one that I'm actually reading now, little by little I read it. I haven't picked it up in a while, but I'm picking it up again. This is one of those books that comes so in handy when you're raising boys. This is a family of 6 boys, and it's surviving, teaching, and appreciating boys. Raising Real Men. So it's by Hal and Melanie Young. And I'll read to you a little bit in the back. It says, 6 boys, folks say mockingly. What a horror. Well, better you than me, they say to them. But we answer cheerfully and gracefully, and we always say there are gifts from above. And so privately though, she says, we admit to ourselves it's not always rosy. Teenagers, boys put away a startling amount of grocery. In other words, they eat a lot. Young boys can be downright destructive. They're noisy, unconcerned with personal hygiene, yes. And the dog has a longer attention span, or so it seems, most days or some days. If this is God's chosen gift to us, then why is it so hard? How can we prepare these boys to serve God when we can barely even make it through a day? Isn't there a better way? And then here says the answer is yes. So it's giving you advice. It's kind of sharing their experience with the all boys, 6 boys. What a blessing. And I love it. I've read like the first chapter, and it has been a blessing. So yeah, those are the 2 books that I recommend. I'm gonna link them down below. They're awesome. And then number 3 I want to give advice on is parenting. So this is a tough one because I don't want it to come across that I'm the best mom. And I think that my girls, Jamie and Ryan, are not trying to say that as well. So we just want to give practical advice and tips that works for us and that we have learned. So one of the things that I like to say to most mamas that ask me, how do you do it? And I often say, well, boys like to feel needed. They like to feel wanted and needed. And they like to help in the kitchen just as much as girls do. So giving them those extra things to do that they like is a big deal. My boys love to cook with me, so I let them do it. I let them cook with me. They like challenges. They like to build things and put things together and take them apart. So giving them things to do, for example, if you get a package in the mail that requires building, at least for your older boys that can read instructions, let them do it. Give them the opportunity to show off their instruction following selves. And let them build. You know, they learn a lot of lessons with that too when they make errors, so that's a good one. Give them the tools to build and just kind of get that curiosity out. They're very competitive. Boys are very competitive, so I always say feed that competitiveness when it comes to chores. You know, which one can you get them faster, or you did it, oh look, he did the chores first and you didn't get to do them first this time, so you know he wins. You know, you could always make it into like this challenge or this, you know, game. But chores are big. When it comes to chores, I give my boys chores to do every day. They are responsible for this home just as much as I am, and I always tell them this is a family unit and we work as a family together to keep it working well. So they are responsible for chores and doing them well. And boys like compensation. They like to be rewarded for their hard work. They like to feel like they can work hard and earn something. So I always say compensate them and do it as a secret. Don't tell them, hey, if you do this, I'm gonna give you this. Kind of tell them, can you do this for me? And then after they've done it, compensate them, and they will feel like, oh wow, I was appreciated. And they will want to do whatever you ask of them next time. So definitely compensate your boys, teach them the value of hard work. That's something that comes in here too. I love this book because it definitely talks about the value of hard work, preparing for marriage. There's a lot of really good subjects there, so I definitely recommend that book. So those are my practical advice. I didn't want to get too deep into this topic. There's so much more that we can say, but I hope that Jamie has a different perspective, and I know they will, and Ryan. So please go check out their channels. And again, if you're new, I hope you subscribe and stay here for a while. I love to update you guys on my homeschool journey with my boys. And so yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was encouraging, and I'll see you in the next video.